You know, the really, really fun part about doing Beyond Transformers, it's not just showing you toys out there you've never seen before that are as good or close to as good as original Transformers toys are. It's showing you stuff that in some cases is far superior. And today is one that I've been waiting for a long time, because we're going to talk about Gakken, a company that for one brief year in 1983 outdid everybody and created toy designs that are still arguably unsurpassed today. Why haven't you heard about Gakken? So a variety of reasons we'll get into, but none of it has to do with how good these toys actually were. So let's do a little brief history. I'll tell you a little bit about Gakken, about these toys. I'm going to show you one toy design that is awesome. Just came in the mail, actually. I can't wait to show this to you. And then we'll talk about what happened to Gakken and why it's not around today. But for those of you who are not super experts on Genesis Climber Mospeada or Robotech, and even if you are, you might learn something today, I've got a lot to show you. So, if you've watched my previous video on the first modern transforming robot toy, where I went through the entire history of transforming robot toys up through the 1980s, you know that 1982 was a pivotal year. First, Diaclone did the Die-Attacker toy, and right afterwards, we got the Takatoku Valkyrie from Macross, which broke the mold. It changed everything. It was realistic looking, and it had the three qualities I constantly talk about that are so important. It had heft, it had a intuitive design, and it had a total transformation where its robot mode looked very different from its vehicle mode. And that made it immensely successful. Well, that toy did incredibly well, and from that one design, they were able to make a ton of money and sell their toy all over the world, to the point that people are still talking about it and buying new redesigns of it today. So other toy companies took note. There was a renaissance in transform robot toys happening, and everybody wanted in. So a company called Gakken took note. And what made Gakken different from the other companies out there is that it wasn't specifically a toy company. Gakken had its hand in everything. Technically, they're a publisher of educational children's material, which could include magazines, books, I think. They made a home computer at one point. They made a video game console. They did building toy systems. They were doing everything. And they figured, well, you know, why not try this? So they had a lot more resources and money to throw at this project. They end up designing the toys for a Japanese anime series known as Genesis Climber Mospeada. Mospeada doesn't end up attaining much success in Japan, certainly not the level that, say, Macross did, although it does ultimately get recycled into the Harmony Gold Robotech animated series in the United States. But the toys, oh boy. Japanese animated series around this time period were usually centered on one great toy. Gakken designs three, only two of which see production, and one of them is this amazing motorcycle that turns into armor for its rider. The transformation is so elaborate in a thing of absolute beauty, it's hard to comprehend how it even works. Let's watch that animation one more time. Anybody who says that today's robot toys are better designed or more intricate, you've never seen this thing before. But that's not even my favorite one. My favorite one, actually, was Gakken's answer to Takatoku's Valkyrie fighter, which was what began this whole nonsense in the first place. They create what's called the Legioss fighter instead, which has the same three modes. It's a robot, it's a jet, it's something in between, but man, is it a thing of beauty. And it looks so different in its two different modes as well. I stumbled upon this toy by accident years ago, a broken version of it, and it became one of my favorite toys I've ever owned. So I've spent years trying to hunt down an affordable version of it. The reason why they're so hard to find affordably is because while Gakken placed a huge emphasis on brilliant engineering, they didn't have much thought for breakage. They really weren't considering that it was kids playing with these toys. So, for example, when I got my Gakken Legioss fighter years ago, I took it out and started playing with it. Snap, I broke pieces off right off the bat, and I'm a pretty careful transformer. I may do it fast in my videos, but I generally know what I'm doing, and snap, I broke something right off the bat. So this is a really, really rare toy in 2024 because it's so fragile, because people who had them broke them like crazy. So I've managed to track one down for a reasonable price after years of looking. And just for fun and sensationalism, I have not practiced the transformation. I have not touched this toy since it came out of the box. And I'm going to transform it for you guys here on camera. So if I break it, you get to see me break it. And if I don't, You get to see how brilliant and beautiful this toy is, and also how to transform it correctly in case you manage to track one down. So let's take a look at the Gakken Legioss fighter. Here's the Gakken Legioss fighter in all of its beauty and glory. Now, to be clear, I should clarify there are several versions of this toy sold at several different scales, and only the DX version of it actually has a full transformation. If you buy the standard version instead and they look the same in eBay listings, it comes with a higher die-cast content. The legs are heavy die-cast, but it cannot fully transform. So you really want this deluxe version, which is the one that's really hard to get and super fragile. For size scale, let's just show for a second how it looks next to a G1 Thundercracker. So you can see the difference there. And of course, probably the more apt comparison is with its direct inspiration, the Takatoku Valkyrie fighter. So you can see that this is a little bigger than that as well, and my gosh, is it a thing of beauty. So let's take a look at what makes it so special. Before I even transform it, I just really want to take in how gorgeous this thing is. First of all, it has a cockpit that actually opens. One thing that was always missing in the Takatoku Valkyrie. That little pilot guy is not an actual figure, but there's a screw at the bottom that if you remove it, it's right there. You remove that screw, he'll come right out, and he's actually the right size to put a Diaclone pilot into, a Dionaut, which I do all the time with my other ones. Remember, this one I've never touched before. So, looking at this awesome design, it's heavy, it's big, and man, is that transformation going to be satisfying. So, let me walk you through it, and let's hope I know what I'm doing so I don't hit a snap and break it right on live camera for you. So let's try this together. Wish me a little bit of luck in showing you what makes this Gakken fighter so special. Oh boy, I'm feeling the nerves already. So I know we're going to put in these landings, and note that beautiful die-cast content once again. It's the wings you have to be the most careful about. So I'm starting with the legs because I'm a coward. You can kind of see how big this is and hear a bit of that heft on the audio. We're going to get these legs spread nicely. I should rephrase that. Already it can stand, and I'm hoping I'll figure out why that's sagging in a moment. The legs actually have some enormously complex mechanisms in them that I don't fully understand. Way more elaborate than needs to be, so I'm hoping in a moment that will snap together if we do it right. But let's take a look at the rest. Whoa boy, don't fall now. These wings make me nervous. Very nervous. But if you do that correctly, well, there we go. It broke. Okay, guys, you've witnessed on live camera, I have broken a toy. I'm not going to cry. What I'm going to do instead is show you my other version of this, and maybe I'll be able to put them together and create an amalgam of the two. No worries. We're going to fix this. Well, that was not a dilemma I expected to have on live camera. But now you guys know I don't edit this in advance, no surprises. That was real. That really broke. So I've pulled out my other older version of it, which might look nice and minty to you at first, but as we go through, you'll see why this one is actually an inferior version. And then if I'm ambitious enough, maybe I will hybrid the two together and create a perfect working version of it on video today. If you just saw that piece fall, there's your first clue this is not mint. That is being held together by a piece of Scotch tape, because that is the first piece I snapped when I got this years ago by not doing things in the right order. Please don't panic too much. If you're thinking, well, I'm never going to buy this toy now, it's clearly so easy to break. You know, the one that just broke in front of me a moment ago, that was a form of metal fatigue that couldn't be anticipated. Otherwise, if you know how to transform this in the right order, you're not going to have an issue. So let me show you how this all goes. We'll try this one more time. We're going to have these pieces go up. Now, the legs on this one are a lot more janky. You'll see they're kind of a mess. And that's another thing I don't like about this one. It's got some problems there. Just from bad transforming over the years and forcing things in ways they shouldn't have been forced. I'm going to show you the right way to transform it today. We'll get these wings down, and this is where I was a moment ago when things broke. We'll swing out that arm, and it won't break this time. This arm's going to give me a little bit of a fight, but it's ultimately going to do the right thing. We can pull out this fist. Bam. Let's swing out the other side. I'm a little more fearless now. Once you've broken a toy that cost you a fortune you've waited for forever, there's nothing to fear anymore, is there? All right, now, bring it in a little bit closer. We're going to want to be very careful. This is where things go awry if we're not smart. We're going to put that in there. I'm going to pull out the head first. And this is where order really, really matters. We are going to swing that piece just like that. We are going to swing this piece gradually and slowly and pray. Oh, no, we can't. Got to flip that up first. There is a piece here that needs to go up, and I forgot to do that earlier. It's sort of a locking mechanism. There we go. Got that. So this should be able to swing up now. Whew. I know you're thinking at home right now, thing of beauty. This looks like a monster. Don't worry, it's worth it. It really is. Okay, we got that. The back is going to swing into place over here. Fold these wings over. What we're going to end up with, once we adjust this piece, is a cool-looking robot. Now, again, I told you the legs are messed up on mine, so it's not balancing quite right. But this is more or less what we're talking about. Again, this was the nicest version I could afford for years. There he is. He would look a lot better if he were nice and minty. But he's a pretty beautiful toy. What I like about him so much is he really doesn't look at all like the toy he began as. Not even remotely. So, I'm going to turn the camera off for a moment and figure out how in the world I can possibly combine these two to make a perfect version. And I'll show you what I come up with. Wish me luck, because I don't have a plan. So this is not the episode I ever expected to make, but we're going to figure this out as we go. And my idea is as follows. Here's the really nice one that we just snapped an arm off of. And I've got another one with a perfectly good arm. So I'm thinking if I can unscrew this portion right here, I should be able to replace the arm at the joint right about there. So that's what I'm working on right now. And we'll see how this goes. I'm not sure if this is going to make for the best or the worst YouTube episode ever. Well, we did it. It took some work, but we finally have what appears to be perfect Gakken Legioss. Really good looking guy. Wouldn't you agree? Lift that head up and agree with me. He agrees. I mean, look at this articulation. And here's the best part about a thing like this. It doesn't even look like it was originally a plane. You know, whereas, think about like the Takotoku Valkyrie. It's a very sleek toy that you know originally was a jet. This guy is like serious battle armor going on here. This guy does not look like he was a flying craft originally. He's a seriously armed mecha. He is absolutely flipping gorgeous. This is the height of design. It really is. And they've made other versions of him over the years, but they don't compare at all. I mean, this is the benchmark right here. Whew, the Gakken Alpha. My God. Well, that definitely wasn't the episode I planned to make when I woke up this morning. No! but it's okay. It worked out, and please don't hold it against Gakken or against the Legioss, because when you collect vintage toys, this is going to happen occasionally. I've been really lucky. It hasn't happened to me often. It did happen to me on camera today, that you buy a toy that looks like it's in great shape, and just over time, in gradual wear of usage and decay of parts, these things were intended to last a very short time. You get something like this where an arm just breaks off. And if you have the extra parts, you can fix it. I'm out some extra money because I plan to sell my original Legioss to help pay for this one. But yeah, it happens, and it's okay. No problem, really. But I do hope you'll give these two Gakken toys a try, and of course be very careful buying used, because they are so delicate and they do break so easily. I did buy one of the motorcycle ones a few years back, and the seller didn't know how to transform it correctly, so they sent it to me not realizing that parts of it were completely broken. I had to send it back again. So it is worth checking out. The newer, they've remade the Legioss several times, several different manufacturers, and the remakes are never anywhere near as good. They're lacking. The transformation's less satisfying. They're usually smaller. They lack the heft. I like the fact that you can put pilots in this one. That means a lot to me, but you got to go with the original Legioss. Sentinel does make, the company called Sentinel does make the motorcycle right now. It costs a good amount of money, but it's a really, really good release that arguably is as good as the original. But if you want a Legioss, you got to buy the original. As for what happened to Gakken, I didn't answer that yet. How did this company that was making amazing toys just stop? And the answer is actually pretty simple, which was, as I've mentioned in a previous video about the one about This Is Not Optimus Prime, the lost generation of Transformers, we talked about the fact that in 1983, there was a really bad recession in Japan. It had been in the works before that, but it kind of hit its lowest level in early 1983. And that's when you see Takara starts moving towards cheaper, smaller toys. And a lot of other companies just close up shop. Bandai goes around and starts buying out these other companies. They buy Popey, they buy Takotoku, they acquire, and start bringing that stuff to America as Gakken and some other toy lines in an effort to try and make some money out of this stuff when the market's so bad. Meanwhile, Gakken just goes, well, yeah, I'm out. And Bandai goes, well, can we buy your designs? Nah, that's a low price. We just forget it. We don't need it. We make other things. We don't need to worry about this. And like a boss, they drop the mic and they just leave. They just walk out. You know, Hasbro Takara is trying to license toys for their new Transformers line. And nope, Gakken doesn't need to be part of that either. They just wash their hands with that and move on. Now they're getting into home video game console systems, and they just forget about it. They're just done. And you don't hear about it much today because if you weren't part of one of those Bandai toy lines, Bandai kept those franchises alive. In the US, if it was part of a Transformers toy line, you knew about that too. Gakken was distributing on its own. They used Matchbox to release some of their toys in America towards the end as part of the Robotech toy line. But who was paying attention to Robotech anyway? You had Transformers Generation 1 out at that point. And if you did like Robotech, you probably liked the first wave of those that were from Macross and weren't even paying attention to these ones coming from Genesis Climber Mospeeda. So Gakken just kind of got forgotten. They did their thing and they walked away like a boss, and they made some amazing toys that are worthwhile even when they break on your workshop table in the middle of a YouTube video. So please, check them out. It's worthwhile. There's so much great stuff out there, guys. Quit buying the new Transformers if they don't excite you. You don't need to own all of them. You don't need to own any of them. Buy the cool stuff. And man, Gakken, that's cool. If you're looking for it online, do keep in mind the Legioss was available in 2 different sizes. You want the DX, it's hard to tell sometimes. Just look at the feet. That's how I can always tell. If the feet are metal, then you know it's not the version you want. It's not fully transformable. You want the plastic one, believe it or not. And with the motorcycle, I wouldn't even try to buy the Gakken original unless you're going to buy it mint out of box and then cross your fingers it won't degrade. I would buy the new ones being made by Sentinel, which cost quite a bit, but they really, really are worth it. I have one and it's a beauty. Anyway, keep on hunting, keep on making it fun, keep on looking beyond those traditional G1 Transformers. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed that I broke a toy for you today. And come on back, check us out next time. Don't forget the conversation continues at classiccomics.org, where we discuss a bunch of things in addition to classic comic books, including cool toys, video games, TV shows, movies. Come geek out with us. We're friendly and we'd love to have you there. Have a great one.